Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. My name is Darrell. We are back with some NBA 2K Mobile, and we are back with more team reviews. So let's get into it. So the first team is Yeet. Yeet used to play NBA 2K Mobile. He stopped at the beginning of Season 5, and he actually just recently returned. So he didn't want any tips, but he did want to show his team. He's got the triple-doubles Gary Payton, which is one of the top point guards for sure, especially because of the boosted stats with the triple-doubles team. He's got a 6 in playmaking, which is incredible, and a lot of fives across the board. He has max juice, which is a really good shooter. You saw that in Game 2 of the NBA Finals. James Worthy, we featured him in a recent episode of Worth the Hype. Incredible small forward if you missed out on Grant Hill, Kevin Durant, or the triple-doubles LeBron. Aaron Gordon, I think, is an underrated gem, and we also featured him in a recent episode of Worth the Hype. Vlade Divac, another triple-double center who has value because of the added boost. That 6 on rebounding and 6 in post scoring made Vlade a very valuable center to use for that position. So we dropped the follow on Yeet. On to the next team. The next user is Zen. We'll drop that follow. He is rocking Rainmaker's Curry. That is a player we definitely reviewed in the first episode. So if you need tips on how to build out Curry, definitely feel free to check out the first episode. And also check out this build here because it is pretty solid. I can see he got maxed out shoot off dribble. He's got a 6 in defending and a 6 in 3-point shot. It's actually a pretty good build for Stephen Curry. Those LeBron 9 shoes, which are rare. You don't see these epic shoes often. And a Damian Lillard mentor, it's definitely a good combination for Curry. Now, Jamal Crawford is a player that not enough people have. I might even be like one of the few people that made a video about Jamal Crawford because he was a domination reward, right? Very tough player to get for sure. I'll be honest, I had to craft Jamal Crawford. Wanted to feature him in a video and also was one of my favorite Knicks. This build here is pretty good for Jamal Crawford. Those Hyper Lives are great shoes. I use those with James Harden. It brings up his agility up to a 6, 3-point shot up to a 6, and defending up to a 5. So this is a really good build for Jamal Crawford. Kawhi Leonard, one of the top tier small forwards. Curry 1 shoes are perfect. That's what I personally use as well. Brings up his playmaking up to a 6, defending up to a 7, and then mid-range up to a 6. Solid build for Kawhi Leonard. Anthony Davis, another top tier power forward. He's rocking the Air Jordan 1s, right? +2 layups and dunks brings it up to a 7. Maxed out rebounding, really good idea for Anthony Davis. And then with the mentor, was able to bring up 3-point shot up to a 5 and post scoring up to a 6. So this is a solid build as well. David Robinson, wearing the Fear of Gods, which are incredible shoes for big men. This is what I use with Giannis. This maxes out his rebounding, maxes out his post scoring. And then with the David Robinson mentor, you were able to max out defending. So this is a very solid build for the Admiral as well. All right, so the next player is Fiend. We're gonna drop that follow on him. So Fiend has a pretty solid squad too. I can already see it. He's got triple doubles Westbrook. He's an incredible player. Y'all know that already. We featured him in the first episode for sure. This build here has the Hyper Dunk 2008, which are really good shoes. Maxes out his layups and dunks, maxes out his mid-range shooting. And with the Russell Westbrook mentor, we're also able to see a combination of agility being maxed out, defending up to a 6, and 3-point shot to a 6. This is a very good Russell Westbrook build. Donovan Mitchell has the Crazy Light boosts. Those are good if you want to boost up mid-range. Pete Maravich mentor. So this brings up shoot-up dribble to a 6, mid-range up to a 7. That's a really good idea for Donovan. Some other stats that you want to try to bring up defending, which is sitting at a 4. But aside from that, this is a pretty good build for Donovan Mitchell. Triple doubles LeBron, probably the best card in the game right now. The Air Jordan 13s, which are really good as well. They always have that +2 boosted 3-point shot. And the Jimmy Butler mentor. So with all those combined, the agility is maxed out, mid-range shooting is maxed out, 3-point shot is maxed out, and layups, dunks, and post scoring is at a 6. And remember, this LeBron also already has a 6 in playmaking. So this is a solid build as well. And he was able to max out his LeBron James, which is a smart idea, something I want to do as well. Gets him up to a level 100. Power is at 271,000. Now, the only reason why I haven't maxed out LeBron is still want to see if there's another domination event. You got the Spicy P, Pascal Siakam at power forward. So the Melo M13s, very solid shoes because of that +2 to defense. Mixed in with the Chris Bosh mentor, this Pascal Siakam has maxed out layups and dunks, maxed out defending, mid-range shooting at a 6, and playmaking at a 5. And last but not least, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, another top tier center, the LeBron 17s. Mixed with the Bobo mentor, which surprisingly used Bobo to become a mentor because that is a very good gem for head-to-head as well. And a very good player you want to use for power cap when you're lowering the center's position. But I do understand why you did it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the better center. So he's got a 7 in strength, 7 in rebounding, 7 in mid-range shooting, and a 6 in post scoring. Those are all the stats you want to see boosted for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. If you're able to boost up any more, you can also try bringing up his defending and his layups and dunks. Very solid team, Fiend. On to the next. All right, next is Duko Hazard. This is most likely the team he was using to grind King of the Court, but we're going to review it anyway because there's still some pretty solid players in there. 3 of them that we featured in Worth the Hype. They got the Jamal Murray with the Air Jordan 5s. One of my favorite shoes because of that boost to agility. So it brings it up to a 6, and it brings layups and dunks to a 5. Once you do get the mentor, you got to focus on bringing up Jamal Murray's defending. It's at a 3. If you boost that up, he becomes really good with the steals. If you try to bring up his layups, dunks, or playmaking, he'll be solid. Next, we got Manu Ginobili. He has legendary shoes. These are the Air Jordan 35s. Really good shoes because of that +2 to 3-point shot. It also boosts his strength, which is good for your guards and small players because they can take more contact when driving to the rim. So it's a very solid stat. This maxes out Manu Ginobili's 3-point shot up to a 7. Once you do decide to make a mentor, you got to bring up his layups and dunks and his defending. You got James Worthy with the Air 4 Posit 1s. Another good shoe as well. What I'm trying to train up for LeBron right now. This brings up his mid-range up to a 7. Strength up to a 6. Once you max out these shoes and add on a mentor, you could try to bring up James Worthy's 3-point shot, his shoot-off dribble, and his playmaking. Aaron Gordon, he has the Curry 4 lows. I think he's a very good player to use at the power forward position if you don't have one. With the Curry 4 lows, you're able to bring up defense up to a 6 and post scoring up to a 5, which is really good idea for Aaron Gordon because he is dominant in the post. Really strong dunker as well. So if you could max that out, he goes crazy. And he is a pretty decent 3-point shooter from the corners and from the side of the wings. So if you could bring up 3-point shot up to a 5, you'll see the difference. Try to see if you can bring up his playmaking and agility as well. And then Nikola Jokic, he's rocking an atomic spawn with the Rudy Gobert mentor, maxes out rebounding and brings up post scoring to a 6. If you want tips on how to build out Nikola Jokic, you can always feel free to check out the first episode because Jokic was pretty much on everybody's team. Next squad, Duko Hazard. Now let's go on to the next team. Our next team is David Red. This might have also been his team that he used to grind the King of the Court because he has team players along with the courtside pass player. And if you didn't check it out yet, we featured the brand new courtside pass Yao Ming and Worth the Hype video. So definitely check that out. He is incredible. So this LaMelo Ball, big fan of this card for sure. The Curry 5s, which is a really good uncommon shoe, and the Trae Young mentor. So this right here maxes out shoot off dribble, maxes out agility, brings up 3-point shot up to a 6 and playmaking up to a 6. So this is a very good LaMelo Ball build. Once you get a epic shoe and you get that third attribute, hopefully you can find a shoe that will bring up his defending or his layups and dunks. We got the Manu Ginobili Zoom Hyper Rep 2014. Another good shoe because of that +2 to 3-point shot. So you're able to max it out for Ginobili, bring up his agility up to a 6, which is a great idea. Once you do make a mentor for him, you can try to bring up his layups and dunks or his defending. James Worthy, Air Jordan 4s. This brings up shoot off dribble to a 5 and agility up to a 7. This is a good build for James Worthy as well. Once you do get the mentor, try to bring up his playmaking and see if it's possible to bring up his 3-point shot. That way at least he can hit the corner trade. Aaron Gordon, we went through already, but these LeBron 8s are very good shoes for him as well because it brings 3-point shot up to a 6 and playmaking up to a 4. Once you do have the mentor, you can bring up his defending and his layups and dunks, or mid-range if you want. Shaq Attack 4s on Jokic and the Shaq mentor. You're able to max out his layups and dunks and max out his strength and bring up his rebounding up to a 6, which is a pretty good idea for Jokic. Jokic is another player that we broke down a lot in the first episode, so definitely check that out for more tips for Jokic. The nice squad, David Red. All right, so David is rocking the All-Star Luca. This is still a very good card, right? So don't sleep on this card, especially if you don't have any other Lucas. Oh, this Luca's rocking the LeBron 15s, which is a good idea. Bring up Luca's layups and dunks up to a 6. And then with the Chris Paul mentor as well, you're able to max out his mid-range shooting and bring Luca's defending up to a 5. So this is a good Luca build because defending was definitely an area of opportunity. He has a really good mid-range. I like the fact that you also brought up his layups and dunks. We got Pistol Pete Maravich, another player that we broke down a lot in the first episode. So if you want more tips for Pete Maravich, definitely check that out, along with that Clyde Drexler as next. But this Pete Maravich is rocking the Crazy Light Boost 2014 and the Jaylen Brown mentor. So you're able to max out his mid-range shooting and you're able to max out his 3-point shot. Now, I have been seeing some people, mentors that have a 0 on the second stat. When making your mentors, make sure that you're adding on maxed out shoes. And also, if you could, add on a mentor to that player that you plan to become a mentor. That way you can really maximize the new mentors that you're creating. Don't want to go with that approach, then make lower tier mentors, right? The power boost doesn't really matter as much if you're already in the highest tier. You don't really need to boost up the players with the mentors. You can do that by upgrading them. The tier jumps don't go up that much in power, but it's more about adding the stats to your player's build, right? But regardless, you made it work by maxing out his three-point shot, because that's a good idea for Pete Maravich. Clyde Drexler got the D-litter 4s. This maxes out his rebounding. Kevin Durant mentor, you brought his three-point shot up to a 5, which is a great idea. However, the layups and dunks, because it was a +2, it only used one of those attribute points. That mentor there, you might have been able to get more value if you used it for another player, since mentor do cost a lot of coins to make. So you got to be a little more, you got to be more strategic with them as well. But I definitely like the idea that you maxed out his layups and dunks, because Clyde Drexler is that type of player, right? So explosive and athletic. It's just a lot of fun to use. Keep working on those D-litter 4s. Hopefully you can lock some attributes that can help you boost your other stats as well. Sometimes that D-litter 4 will give you another +2 to rebounding. It just happened to me with Jokic. Carlos Boozer, you're rocking the Air Force Positive 1s and a Draymond Green mentor. So you're able to max out his mid-range shooting, which is a very good idea with Carlos Boozer. You maxed out his post scoring, another great idea. And he brought up his rebounding up to a 6. So this is a very good Carlos Boozer build. I like what you were doing here. Once you do get another mentor, try to find one that could boost up his agility and his playmaking. Then we got the Bill Walton net cutters theme. This was an underrated card for sure. And the LeBron 17s is a good shoe for him, right? You brought up his mid-range up to a 6, rebounding up to a 6, and defending up to a 6. So this is a good Bill Walton build. Once you do make a mentor for him, you can try to bring up his agility and his playmaking, right? Both of those things combined will boost the player's speed. All right, next team is Dragon Heat. Dragon Heat has Gary Payton, triple doubles theme. He's rocking the KD 7 All Pearls. These are good shoes as well. This brings up shoot up dribble up to a 7 and three-point shot up to a 6. This Gary Payton has so many boosted stats. So once you do make a mentor, you can try to bring up his layups and dunks and then boost out his defending, because he's such a top tier defender. It definitely helps you out for sure. Next, I got Jalen Williams from the playoffs team. So it's definitely cool seeing some cards that we didn't break down in the first episode. So for Jalen Williams, you're using the crazy shadows. This brings up mid-range shooting up to a 6, which is a good idea, and agility up to a 6. Once you do make your mentor or you do get an epic shoe, the stats you want to bring up for Jalen Williams is his defending, which is out of 4, his layups and dunks, which is out of 4, and if you could bring up his three-point shot. Triple-double Scottie Pippen. This is a card I wanted, I was not able to get. Definitely a valuable card. Use the Air Force Positive 1 Weatherman to max out his rebounding, and you also maxed out his playmaking, which is a pretty good idea to max out those stats. Once you do get a mentor, you could try to bring up his mid-range and his three-point shot, and if you do get an epic shoe, one that has shoot-off dribble will be really good for Scottie Pippen. Next, you got triple doubles Lamar Odom. He's rocking the LeBron 5s. This brings up defending up to a 5. Very good idea for Lamar Odom. He only had the 4 in defending. And you brought a three-point shot up to a 6. Once you do get the mentor, try to bring up his mid-range, his layups and dunks, and his agility. Last but not least, Vlade Divac with the T-Mac Millenniums. Good shoe if you want to boost up playmaking. This brings it up to a 5, and you also brought up strength to a 5. Once you do get a mentor or an epic shoe, try to find one that would also boost up his agility, his mid-range shot, and defending. Overall, keep grinding. I see that you were grinding the triple doubles theme. That was a good idea. That's the fastest way to increase the power for your teams by getting the event cards. So definitely keep that momentum going. Our next team is Goated Grinder. It's a pretty cool name. It also looks like this is the team that we're using to grind the event. Rocking Jamal Murray. He has on some legendary shoes, the Converse Chuck Taylor Highs, which brings up three-point shot up to a 7. This is a pretty good shoe. Let's check out the other stats for these Chuck Taylors. So the Chuck Taylor Highs all start with a +2 to three-point shot. Looking at most of the shoes, the last stat is typically +2 to defending. If not, there's one shoe that has a +2 to playmaking. So for Jamal Murray, either of those scenarios will work out, because then his playmaking will be maxed out or his defending will go up to a 5. So keep grinding out these shoes. These will be incredible for Jamal Murray. And then once those shoes are done, then work on a mentor to bring up the other stats like layups and dunks and agility. Manu Ginobili rocking the Air Jordan 35s. These are maxed out legendary shoes, so big shout out to that, because that's definitely a grind. This with the Manu Ginobili mentor, which looks like it's a plasma quartz as well. You already got Manu maxed out, which is pretty crazy. That's incredible, and that's definitely because of the boost with the prime player as well. The prime player brings up his power 25% when he's the highest on the team. So with the shoes and the mentors you have, you're able to max out his shoot-off dribble, max out his three-point shot, and max out his playmaking, which is really good idea for Manu. You also brought up rebounding up to a 4. This doesn't hurt for the shooting guard. If you are able to bring up more stats, though, I would recommend bring up the layups, dunks, and defending, and then eventually the agility. D-Litter 2s on James Worthy. These are some good legendary shoes as well. Stat is always +2 to playmaking, which brings it up to a 6. You're also maxing out his agility, so he's going to be really fast on that court. He already has a 5 in layups and dunks in mid-range, so he can drop buckets. And he's got a 5 in defending and post scoring, so he's a really good inside-outside shooter. Fin the three-point line, right? If you want to get him to become a three-point shooter, you could do that. You could try to bring up his three-point shot up to like a 5. That way he could hit the corner trades as well. And if you could make a mentor to also bring up his shooter of dribble, he actually could be like a really elite small forward. Karl Malone, Zoom Harachi 2K4s, maxed out post scoring, which is a good idea for Karl Malone. Let's see what the other stats are for those shoes. And also the D-Litter 2s. So for the Zoom Harachi 2K4s, they all have that +2 to post scoring. That's the first stat. And the last stat is +2 to layups and dunks. For Karl Malone, that'd be great because it'll bring layups and dunks up to a 6, which is incredible. Once you're done maxing out those shoes, then work on the mentor to bring up his other stats like agility, playmaking, and then bring up the mid-range even more because he's very good on the pick and roll and the pick and pop. And then for the D-Litter 2s, a lot of the shoes either have a +2 to three-point shot or a +2 to agility. So for James Worthy, that would bring up his three-point shot up to a 5, which will be very, very good. So hopefully you get the boost three-point shot and not the second attribute for agility. Then you'll have 2 attribute points that you don't need. And that's something that I hope gets fixed for Season 6. Because having shoes with the same attribute is tough because most players have already a 3, 4, or 5 in a stat. So that +4 boost usually doesn't help. And then Nikola Jokic is rocking the Dame 5s. Broken down Nikola Jokic a whole lot. But I will go into the other stats for these shoes because the legendary shoes are so incredible. And again, big shout out to DameGotGame and RaptorsChamps for creating this list. It will be in the description once again. So it's definitely a good resource to use when trying to build out your players. So the Dame 5s all start off with a +2 to agility. And most of their stats is either a +2 to rebounding or +2 to strength. So for Jokic, +2 to rebounding will max him out and +2 to strength will max it out. So very good shoe for Jokic. And once you do get the mentor, you can boost up his defending, try to bring up his mid-range and layups and dunks. And next up, we got OG Damien. Definitely drop him a follow. OG Damien always showing some positive vibes on the channel. So he's rocking Kemba Walker. So cool, we get to see some different players. I know that was a comment on the first video. So he's rocking the LeBron 8s, some of my favorite rare shoes. This brings up his three-point shot up to a 7. The thing with Kemba, though, is he's a really good scorer, but you got to bring up his layups and dunks. And you got to bring up his defending, right? Those are definitely some categories that are too low on him. But aside from that, he definitely can score, right? We featured gameplay for him in a pack opening because you already know whatever I pull, I try to throw into head-to-head gameplay. So he was balling out for sure, right? Because he is a good card. Once you unlock the next attribute and make a mentor, if you decide to keep using Kemba, definitely try to bring up those stats. And we got Brent Barry, who's one of the coolest cards inside the game. If you don't know already, whatever Brent Barry you use, depending on the team's jersey that you're wearing. So like if you go to your profile, you could change your team, whatever team that is, Brent Barry becomes a random player. Now, I don't know if the journeyman Brent Barry was fixed, but every other version of Brent Barry that used to happen. So I think that's like a cool Easter egg in the game. So I know if you pick the Celtics, you do get Jaylen Brown. That's usually the one I go with. Or if you pick the Bulls, you get Zach LaVine. But he's rocking the crazy explosive 2017 lows and a Michael Jordan mentor. So with those builds there, you're able to get Brent Barry shoot up dribble to a 5, layups and dunks to a 6, mid-range shooting to a 7, and defending to a 5. So this is a very good build for Brent Barry. If you have something that can boost his agility and playmaking, it'll be very solid. He already has a 5 and 3-point shot, so it's a very good player. All-Star game LeBron James. He's rocking the Shaq Attack 4s. Those are the best rare shoes to use to boosting up layups and dunks. He's also using a LeBron James mentor, which brings up his strength up to a 6 and post scoring up to a 6. So this is a good inside build for LeBron. Definitely could do big man moves with this build right here. Once you do get the next attribute unlocked, hopefully you can boost up his mid-range shooting. Or if you want to keep that big man build, then you can boost up his rebounding. Antoine Walker, a secret gem for sure. And I'm happy to see people using him. Triple doubles version made even more sense to add him to your squad because of that 6 in rebounding and 6 in mid-range. So with your build, the Fear of Gods, those are the best for big men. This brings up post scoring, maxes it out. It also maxes out rebounding. Once you get the third attribute in the mentor, you can try to bring up his 3-point shot because he is one of the best stretch fours. He was probably one of the first stretch fours in the NBA. Was definitely a good player to build up and try to boost up his defending as well. Last but not least, Vlade Divac, another secret gem for the triple doubles team. 6 in rebounding, 5 in post scoring. It's definitely something you like to see on your centers. With the build that you're rocking, the Air Max bodies and the Bill Russell mentor, you maxed out post scoring and you were able to bring up defending up to a 6, which is a really good idea. Once you do get some other shoes, see if you can find some that could boost up his mid-range and his layups and dunks, and maybe agility and playmaking. All right, next up, we got Ender. Definitely drop him a follow. Now, it's cool to see somebody using a Ja Morant. We haven't got a new Ja Morant in a while. This is the best version of him in the game. And again, I say this every time I speak about Ja Morant, but I'm hoping for the best for him for sure. Talented superstar, could be one of the faces for the future of the NBA. And just hoping that he gets everything in order. It sets his path, it stays focused. One of the most important things, and you'll learn that in life, you got to be disciplined. You got to find a way to balance everything. You just got to stay positive and stay focused, right? So he's got the KD 13s. Yeah, I know those are some of my favorite legendary shoes right now. This brings up defending up to a 6. Agility maxes it out. And it brings up strength to a 4, which is a really good stat for a point guard who likes to slash and get layups and dunks. With the Jason Kidd mentor, you're able to max out his shoot-off dribble, and you're able to max out his playmaking. So this is a very good build. I could tell you took your time to create it because it's very detailed. You didn't overlap any stats. And that's what I like to see. Right? It's a good way of utilizing what's available in the game. So good job on that. And this Ja Morant is also maxed out, so you can see the Obsidian theme cards still are valuable, right? 165k power. It's still up there with some of the best theme cards in the game. We got Manu Ginobili. He's also maxed out. So you're rocking the Air Jordan 5, solid legendary shoes. It always has a +2 to playmaking, so you're able to max that out. You maxed out his 3-point shot with the mentor, and you maxed out his shoot-off dribble. So some of the stats that these Air Jordan 5s could get, typically the last stat is +2 to rebounding. With Manu Ginobili, you might not really need the rebounding, but at least it boosts up an attribute that is already low, right? He has a 2 in that stat. He could become a good shooting guard on offensive glass, which will create more opportunities to get easy layups and putbacks. We got the triple doubles LeBron, Curry 3 legendary shoes. This maxes out shoot-off dribble. And with the LeBron James mentor, you're maxing out layups and dunks. You're maxing out 3-point shot, and you're maxing out rebounding. For the Curry 3s, the last stat most likely will be +2 to agility or +2 to 3-point shot. If you do get the agility, that will be great because again, you'll be able to max out LeBron's agility. Next up, we got the Karl Malone, who is this week's reward. You got the Mari Stoudemire mentor. This Karl Malone has the Addy Zero Ghost 2 shoes, which brings up a +2 to strength. With the mentor, you're able to max out his rebounding and max out his post scoring. These shoes here will bring up his rebounding by 2. It seems like all 3 pairs have the same stat. So you already have his rebounding maxed out, so that stat won't help you out as much. So hopefully the second stat will be something that you could help build out your Karl Malone. You have Nikola Jokic, which is like probably the most popular center I see in everybody's lineup. He's got the Jordan Ultra Flies. This maxes out post scoring, maxes out shoot off dribble, and it maxes out mid-range. So this is a very good build for Nikola Jokic. The Kemba Mutombo mentor, you maxed out his strength and you maxed out his rebounding. So this is a solid Nikola Jokic build. So there you have it. We broke down a ton of teams in this video. If I didn't get to your team, don't worry. I will review more in episode number 3. So definitely stay patient. I will get to everybody for sure. So as always, I appreciate the support. I will catch everybody in the next one. Peace out.